What's up, guys? My name is Melissa, and I am an alcoholic. Congratulations to the group, all lit up again. Congratulations to all of the celebrants and all of your families. Welcome tonight. We're passing a basket. Don't put any money in it. That's not for you. That's for the drunks and addicts like myself. It's a really powerful night here when we have so many amazing celebrants, Scott, Jody, Denise, Therese, who are such a big part of this group and do so much service at this group. And I'll just touch on this. If you take a look around this room, we're one of the largest home groups that there is in Nassau County. And it's because of the service that the home group members do here to keep this meeting running and to keep it peaceful. Because this room tonight is a room full of miracles. It is a Wednesday night after 8 p.m., and it's a room of sober drunks and addicts in this room here to recognize our other members who have gone yet again another year without picking up. This is a solution-based meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The solution is the 12 steps guiding you to your solution, which is the higher power. And that's what we promote here. If you are here tonight and you are struggling, we're here to help. You do not need to suffer in pain. If you don't have a sponsor, you do not need to leave here tonight without a sponsor. We're here to help. I had a woman recently tell me that she asked me to be her sponsor because of my confidence and not my spirituality. And what I say to that is that all of my confidence today is completely God-given. Because, snap, 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 come to the women's meeting. Because who I walked in 10 and a half years ago, those shoes don't fit. I was full of fear. I was completely broken. I couldn't look in a mirror. I can do a full face of contour makeup without looking in one because that's how much I hated myself. I had no self-respect. This is a direct result of my relationship with God, my higher power. And I'm going to use those words interchangeably tonight, God and higher power. I do not apologize for God, but I will let you know that if you're here tonight and you don't believe in God, if you're agnostic or atheist, you do not need to believe in God to start the 12 steps, because you will find a higher power of your own choosing along the journey. And I say that because I have friends who do not believe in God, and they're sober because they have a higher power from the 12 steps. So if you're here and the word God scares you, that's okay. Keep going. So, my sober date is August 2nd, 2015. Since that date, I have always had a sponsor, I have always had a home group, and I've always had at least one commitment to Alcoholics Anonymous. And to qualify quickly, why I qualify to have the privilege of speaking at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous as a sober woman 10 and a half years later is that once I start drinking, I cannot stop, and once I stop, I cannot stay stopped. So my story does include, don't let the wine spritzer look by the pool fool you. I am a plastic handle of vodka at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, drunk, sore rat at the supermarket kind of alcoholic. When I get fired up, my accent comes out really bad. I'm fired up about life. I'm fired up about Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm fired up about recovery. And this is not what happened 10 and a half years ago when I lived in a sober house for over a year on the east end of Long Island. Not like these fancy sober houses you guys live in now. And I was talking to one of the women that I'm privileged to sponsor. And let me say that that's a privilege. This is the second of 3 anniversaries I'm speaking at this week. It's the end of the month. I remember the days that I prayed to get 90 days. And I remember praying and my skin crawling. And I'd have 79 days and I'm almost there. I'm almost at 90 days. Just don't pick up. Don't pick up. You can do it. You can do it. Fully self-reliant on self. No God, no higher power, no Alcoholics Anonymous, no sober women directing me, keeping me accountable. 79 days begging, God, please, I don't want to pick up. I don't want to pick up. Not today, not today. Please, God, let me get 90 days so I can speak at a meeting. And like that, I'm on the way to the liquor store yet again. And that was my story for many, many years, was that I wanted to stop. I was in so much pain, the mental anguish, the physical pain. I was physically addicted to alcohol at 27 years old. The spiritual malady that they talk about in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? The hole in the soul that nothing could fill, but I was gonna try to fill it with anything but God, anything but a positive solution for my life. And my solution for many years had been alcohol. When I got here, I didn't have the only requirement. I didn't want to stop drinking. I wanted to slow it down. Because what I was drinking was scaring me at this point. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I was not aware that I was an alcoholic. I just thought something was seriously wrong with me. I didn't understand what recovered alcoholics had when they talk about the peace of mind and the freedom of bondage of self. I was completely clueless to what that was. And I went to my last rehab. I did the East End Shuffle. I'm sure a few of you are familiar with it. And my parents changed the locks on the door. I was no longer welcome home. I lived in a sober house. I was there for 4 months as a dry drunk. If you don't know what a dry drunk is, it means that I don't have my solution, which is alcohol, and I'm not living in the steps to find God. And I am miserable. And all of you shiny, happy AA people who were trying to ruin my day because you're doing the right thing. You're living the spiritual principles of this program. You're not only helping yourself, but you're helping others along the way. And I hated you. And my parents finally said I could come home. I moved home on Friday. I drank on Saturday. I moved back in on Sunday. And that was my last drunk 10 and a half years ago. So the most beautiful thing about all of this is that I am not a one anything kind of gal. I'm not a 1 hour, 1 bottle, 1 nothing kind of drinker. God saw fit that day to rip me from the gates of my alcoholic death and set forth that I was completely rocketed into the 4th dimension of existence, to a life beyond my wildest dreams that I did not know. I didn't know this was here. You know, I talked about freedom and the peace of mind. You know, when I heard freedom my whole life, I just thought of my dad. He's in the Navy, the 4th of July, freedom, America. I didn't know that my life was living in shackles, that alcohol had been my master and made every decision for me in my life. Alcohol decided how much money was in the bank. Did I have a job? Was I dating anyone? Was my family speaking to me? Was I eating that day? I didn't make those decisions. Alcohol did. At the end of my drinking, I was 87 pounds. And the day that I drank, so August 1st, I moved home, and I was completely obsessing over alcohol that day. I spoke to multiple women in the program, but I did not let anybody know what was going on. You could not know that I was not okay. You could not know that my skin was still crawling from my head to my toes, that my stomach was still turning constantly with the obsession of alcohol that I might be able to pick up at some point today. I might be able to get drunk and get high again. And the second I think I am, I'm already high. And just like that, there's 3 bottles hidden in a house that no one else was home. The next day, I woke up in so much emotional pain. Not only the physical hangover and all of that stuff that came along with it, I was in so much emotional pain that anything that had left me in those 4 months of being dry were back. The fear of people, places, and things. My mind constantly racing. And having gone through the 12 steps in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, as honestly as I possibly could, gave me a freedom that I did not know existed. And what I'm talking about is I wake up in the morning and I don't need to reach for any kind of bottle besides a baby bottle. I wake up in the morning and I don't need to think about what happened the night before unless I'm thinking about it in a good way. And I don't mean that in like a weird way right now. That was weird. They say in this program that it's about progress, not perfection. And for me, that means that I'm blessed to be on a path of continuous growth. So I may fall short, but I don't have to keep doing it. I get to change the trajectory of my life. You know, the freedom of that. I remember I probably had about 6 months sober, and I had just finished going through the steps with my sponsor, and I was at work, and I opened the fridge, and I noticed a bottle of vodka in the fridge. And a few more months went by, and I opened the fridge, and I stopped noticing it was there. You know, the obsession had been lifted because I asked for it too. I asked my higher power to release me of this obsession, and he did. And I struggled for a very, very long time because I could not ask for help. And I'll tell you right now, I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and I asked for help, and I've gotten it every single time. And you can ask the 14 people who are on my committees that I ask for a lot of help. Therese, new lashes, don't cry. So Therese and I became fast friends, and we're as thick as thieves today. But we don't steal, lie, or cheat. And we found out that we were actually in the same sorority, but in different states at the same time. And kind of like that bond, go girl. And the first time I went to a meeting to hear Therese speak, and I didn't really know her story, and I didn't really know, what she was gonna say. She just gets up in front of this room, grabs the mic, and goes, "Hold on to your seats, because you're in for a real doozy." And thus, we were rocketed into the 4th dimension of friendship. And for a group such as this, where the majority are males, we have such a strong female presence. Like, I'm sorry, Scott, your anniversary was kind of a little like ladies' night with all this. I'm sure you don't mind at all. But, I have friends today that tell me when I'm not doing the right thing. I have friends today that don't let me get away with being nasty. I have friends today who have the quality of life behind their quantity of sobriety. Meaning, Therese has 14 years, and it shows. Because everything that has happened to her in like her whole life, and she handled herself as a woman of dignity and grace. And we were there, the girls up on the stage, we were there with her every step of the way. And they say it's like one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. Whatever you need to do, there's no reason and no excuse good or bad, to pick up a drink or a drug. And I say that because, like my early sobriety looked a lot different than today. Early sobriety, I was living in a sober house in Mastic, was not employable. My parents did not speak to me for multiple months. I did not have a car. Nobody would help me get a car because I used to drive drunk a lot, like it was a thing. And I got real busy in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous because I don't know about any of you guys when you came in, but I didn't really have a lot going on. And I was able to get real busy. And I'll just shout out my old home group is Sunrise Sobriety in Center Moriches. They meet every day at 6:45 a.m. So wherever God moves my feet to and my seat is, I'm going to put everything into that home group. So I will still put everything into that old home group as the same as that I do here. And I love Alcoholics Anonymous, and I did not know what it could give me when I allowed it to, when I came here and asked for help, when I got with the women that were the winners, when, what is the saying? Put down the whatever and pick up a feather? Put down the bat. So like that stupid saying? So early sobriety was struggling to get through the day, not picking up. And I remember very clearly one day I pulled up into the sober house, and I was there for about 7 months. I just got my car, and I'm sitting in my car in the driveway, and I'm shaking and baking, and I'm ready to go pick up. And I wasn't going in the house, and some girl came out to the driveway, and she goes, "What are you doing? It's Monday night chores. Get in the house and clean the fridge." And like in that moment, that wasn't like solution find God, but in that moment, that's what I needed. And I can say that today, I need to remember what it was like back then when I start to become self-righteous and judgmental of others, that's what I needed to do back then. So that's what life was. I got busy in Alcoholics Anonymous. I found my place in service and planning events, and it's been a blessing, right? So like what the early days was, I used to sponsor an army of women. I used to pick them up at the sober house, drive them to Fight Club, and like that's what I did in my life today. The game is the same, but the stakes have changed. And what I mean by that is, and Jody is here also as a sober mom, and your mom really rocks. You kids are really lucky. And it was me, then it was me and a dog. Now it's me and a guy and 2 dogs. Now it's me and a guy and 2 dogs and 2 kids. Maybe one on the way in a few months. I don't know, we'll see. And the stakes have changed. I've got a lot more to lose. So when I heard someone say once, "Leave the crying kids at the door," my kids are 3.5 and 2.5. They only know me as a sober mom. They only know that when they call for mama that I'm going to come running. That's why I do this. That's why I'm speaking at 3 anniversaries this week, and to show that, like, I have friends today. I've been removed from bridal parties due to my drinking. It's a blessing today also that, like, I have a partner who, like, understands, why I need to do what I do. So, like, in the past, I could sponsor a ton of women, and I could give them all this time, and every Sunday, all the girls would come over my apartment in East Moriches, and, like, that's what it was, right? Rocking and rolling on the East End in AA, and it was, like, one hell of a ride, man. That was a lot of fun. And life today is really fun, too. So just because, like, time goes by doesn't mean that, like, I get to rest on my laurels. I get to rest on the service that I did yesterday. Don't you know what I think I did? Don't you know who I think I am? I still sponsor women. I'm chairing the freaking Unity Breakfast for Nassau County, unitybreakfast.com. I own it for 2 years, so purchase your ticket tonight. And I don't have the luxury of resting on yesterday's service and yesterday's sobriety. I am a bottom of a plastic handle of vodka alcoholic. I can get in enough spiritual pain real quick to throw it all away. And that's why I stay plugged in. That's why I lean in. Therese said, will you speak for me? Oh, in front of 1 million men. Sure, Therese, no problem, anything for you. But that's what we do. And I can tell you that before I got up here tonight, I was a little bit nervous, but again, I know that that's my ego. That's my ego. I need to do a good job. I hope they think I'm good. It's all God, baby. I prayed and I said, please direct my thoughts, words, and actions tonight that my experience, strength, and hope may help another sick and suffering addict or alcoholic in the room. Because that's what I am when I'm not doing this. Praying for the day I could have 90 days. Praying for the day that the obsession would be lifted, that my skin didn't tingle constantly. I prayed for this life and I worked for this life in Alcoholics Anonymous. Everything on the exterior could very easily be taken away at any moment, but not the peace of mind and not the freedom of my soul that I have today. I have self-respect today. I can be disciplined today. I have 10 and a half years and I call my sponsor 4 times a week. And she's awesome. I stay in the work. I stay in helping others. And I'm just a person who prayed to get one day sober. So if you're here and you're new and you need help and you're struggling, please come find us. We'd be blessed to have you on this journey with us. So I think that's all I have. I don't know what time it is. Thank you.